My hatred of men has become vicious and I want to get help. This is a terrible thing to write. I am 27F. I'm a wife and mother. In my teens, early 20s, I was very much a pick-me girl. Like a Pearl Davis type. I cooled that down a lot over the years, but I've gone to the opposite extreme. Rationally, I know this is unfair and unhealthy. Most men aren't bad. But a little voice tells me that even the good ones have some ingrained misogyny, even if it's on the milder end. I love my husband very much. He did something to hurt me very badly in the early days of our relationship. I feel this was the start of it. It wasn't cheating or anything like that. I don't wish to rehash it too much, but it was related to sex. We worked through it, went to therapy, and we're now just like any other couple. We have one daughter and we're very happy together and with our life. It's been years since this happened. But gradually I've found myself growing a stronger dislike for men. It's not because of what my husband did, but I think it triggered it. I started noticing casual misogyny in everyday life more and more, to the point where it's made me angry that men exist. I get so sad thinking that my baby girl will one day be hurt by a man. Not maybe, but likely. If anyone is wondering, I actually have a great relationship with my dad. We are very close. I'm also in therapy for unrelated reasons, but this has come up a couple of times. I want to get over this disgusting hatred and have a healthier outlook. Is this worth discussing with my therapist? I would appreciate literally any insight at this point. Have you thought about getting off social media? A lot of what I see online seems to be people trying to profit off of polarizing their audience. Either men bad and evil, patriarchy pouting, or women bad, steal money and cheat pouting. Maybe a break from social media will help you realize things aren't that bad. Yes, talk to your therapist. Ooh girl, Reddit was not the right place to ask this question. I feel you so much on this personally. I just try to focus on the good aspects of men as much as possible. It can be hard sometimes, but not all men are bad and we all make mistakes. I find self-reflecting helps me a lot too. I'm far from perfect myself. The casual misogyny that you notice isn't your imagination. There are lots of podcasts spreading misogyny. There are posts all the time about brothers, sons, friends and spouses becoming hateful after watching those podcasts. Well, I think it probably has something to do with the fact that you tried to do it how they said you should. I don't need feminism style. But they repaid that by being exactly what feminism was created to deal with. You were on their side and they were on their side, and so nobody in your life was on your side. Did your husband do something without your consent? Because if so, you can say that you're past it till you're blue in the face, but I've been sawed, and I think if I thought I had to stay with the man who did it, I'd feel just like you do right now about men. A deep and abiding hatred. Just saying. Pick-me behavior is a coping mechanism. You probably recognized ingrained misogyny in men long time ago. And as you felt powerless to fight them, you decided to join them in your thinking. To appease them, to get to their good side so they would like you more and treat you better. Life experiences taught you that you don't necessarily get approval and better treatment by acting that way. And now you are understandably angry. Try getting to the root of your problem with a therapist and soul searching. I think that the intensity of the anger would be worth talking to your therapist about. Maybe it is a signal that you have more or different feelings to process. On the other hand, at least for me, I think there comes a point in life where a lot of the impact of the patriarchy and misogyny suddenly becomes very clear. You start to see all the limitations put upon you, or how much harder you have to work. And you can't help but be pissed off. I spend a lot more time watching people's actions and not as much on their words. This has helped me identify better men to be around. They kind of are though. I get a lot of misogyny in my career field and even innocently from friends, acquaintances, and strangers. I've also come to grow intolerant of their lack of understanding or willingness to change and respect us as equals. Older men are bigger offenders usually, and they'll grumble about the Me Too movement or how they can't be passively problematic anymore, but will continue to do exactly that. So, I'm hesitant to blame this on OP's social media usage, especially when existing trauma is validated by other women. I absolutely hate men too. I've seen men at their most disgusting former escorts, so I know the feeling, except I realized it's not just men. Women can be just as depraved. Don't blame men when it's just your morals against everyone else who has different can be just as devious, nasty and disgusting as men. It's just should consider joining a club or meeting people who share your interests. They're more likely to share your morals, like a church or sports group. You hate all men because they have ingrained misogyny? That's the definition of sexism. You've become the very thing you swore to destroy. Also, does this mean that you are putting women on a pedestal? Women treat each other like shit sometimes. I'm sure you could name a couple of women right now you don't like. Why hate just men? Why not hate women too? Good for you for wanting to change. Ask Women Over 30 might be a good subreddit to visit. I have found them friendly and helpful. Thich Nhat Hanh Peace is Every Step and other books has some advice on dealing with toxic emotions. He personally had to deal with a lot of suffering and injustice. Maybe Bell Hooks' book about love. John Gottman about relationships. Create a new TikTok ACC and reset the algorithm. That shit will drive you to any radical position. I definitely relate to feeling this way sometimes. It can be hard to look at how many systemic and socially casual norms we have that are rooted in a lot of misogyny. The reality is though that even when men benefit from these systems, patriarchy and rigid gender expectations hurt everyone. When you have these thoughts, just try to think about why men develop internalized misogyny in the first place, and why women do as well. If a guy is being blatantly sexist though, he can fuck off. I'm sure you've had some utterly terrible experiences that have led you to feel this way. I'm sorry for the pain you've felt. It can be difficult to grapple with institutionalized sexism without extending your animosity towards any and all men. And the worse your experience with the system has been, the harder that balancing act it. There are men who are on your side when it comes to issues of systemic sexism. And I'm one of them. Good on you for seeking help. I think it will lead you to a healthier place and help you more productively unpack whatever experiences have led you to where you are. Best of luck. You're an extremist. Whatever you do, you feel like you have to do it at a level of high intensity. People with these personality types often have difficulty picking something and then doing so at a healthy level. I know others who've done the same thing and it can go either way. Had an old friend go from being a literal alt-right Trump supporter for a while to a far-left trans activist. Maybe try working on spending less time online in extremist think centers. TBH honest, I'm a man and I generally dislike most men. Same here, if you only knew what my husband did to me. Gosh. Every woman I know experienced some form of sexual violence in their life at least once. A recent study showed that 1/3 of men think violence against women is appropriate. We live in a society formed by and for men. While hating individual man without reason and not giving them a chance to prove as good people is not okay. I thinks it's based to hate men as a representation of a sexist and misogynistic world.